Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/Scott P. Gallagher.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's LMS member call is going to be Wednesday, February 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. Central, depending on where you are in this world. Sorry for the slow start today, a couple minutes late, running into microphone problems and managed to get that taken care of. But that's the way it is. All right, so this week, I would like to thank everybody that's on the line right now. We've got a few different updates in the local marketing industry this week. And just a couple of other things to go over. I hope everybody's having themselves a good year and whatnot. If we've got Josh that's on the line, Josh out of Miami, I want you to contact Judy Savara. She's a fairly large internet marketer in the Miami area looking for some work, and saw that online, wanted to get that out. I could see that Tish has got some good activity and posts inside the LMS forum. Make sure you check that out. Just as an update as well, we're launching the premium program once again. It's a little bit more of a pricey program than the typical LMS membership, but you get a lot of one-on-one work. And I'd like you to, if it's something that you have interest in, look at some of our other students that we've had and some of the successes that they've had. Just as an example, Josh Nelson, he bought into my program 4 years ago and started with 0 clients. He's now got, well, let's put it this way, he's billing over $100,000 a month. He's a $3 million company. And he just hit the Inc. 5000 in the United States as one of the fastest growing companies in the country. He's 1,166. He's got 28 employees in his office in Miami. Scott Meadows is looking at 9 different employees out of South Carolina and work very, very closely. You've got Charles, who is out of Australia. He's been a part of the premium program for a year and a half. And he took his business from about $9,000 a month to over $22,000 a month inside of 4 months. So take a look at it. Now, this week, I've been in this business since 2005. And I remember back in 2005 when I started to talk to small businesses about search engine optimization, it was a deer in the headlight look. Nobody knew what SEO was, and get all these comments. Well, I don't need my business on the website or on the interweb or the internet, and what a bunch of bullshit that was back then, and it was just kind of amazing. It was 2009, only 4 years after that Google launched a product called Google Maps, and that was the beginning of the fall of the yellow pages for small businesses. The fact of the matter is today, 2017, 12 years after when I started, there's not a single small business owner that owns a small business in the United States or any developed country for that matter that says, hey, I don't need to be on the web. You've got to be. And there's no greater way to drive traffic to a small business than being found number 1 on Google organically. I'm not talking the paid side of it. And so SEO, it's a lucrative industry, a lucrative opportunity at this stage of the internet game. We're no longer pioneers in the industry. The internet is not anything new anymore. It's a part of us. And so search engine optimization back in 2005 was really the process of manipulating content on the internet to satisfy the needs of the search engines. And it was relatively easy to get businesses ranked nationally, internationally, for pretty much any keyword that you wanted. You know, the porn industry absolutely took advantage a lot of that. And then we saw some algorithmic changes, some big ones come after 2009 and 2010. And here we are in 2017. That SEO is a bullshit term as far as I'm concerned. If you're in the business of SEO, of manipulating search engines for businesses to get results, then you're in the wrong business. And SEO today, in my opinion, is merely no different than what the American Marketing Association defined marketing as back in the 50s. In order for us to get a business ranked high on Google, we've got to deploy the most basic fundamental marketing principles that are out there. Now, let me give an example. When I went and got my marketing degree, first year of university, the first thing that they taught us in Marketing 101 was something called customer segmentation. Now, I'm not here to talk politics or anything of that nature, but there's a lot of shit that's going on right now in the political world in terms of understanding their audience. And you may have seen on your Facebook feed this survey that Donald Trump has put out. And he didn't like the results. Then he started to blame the Democrats that they skewed the results. And then he put the survey out again. But this time, he didn't pay for advertising to get to the survey, to get a sample size. He targeted and sent the content out specifically to his audience. So he's going to get data on his market. He's going to get data to be able to segment his existing audience and understand his existing audience. It's going to give him ammo to create content to feed that audience. But what's wrong with it is his sample size, his population, his sample population is acquired through very biased means. And that's a big mistake in marketing. That's a big mistake in the SEO world. Now, here's an example. You own, I work with chiropractors and dentists. So I'll use a dentist. I'll use two dentists. Oh, no, let me use two chiropractors as examples. They go to the same school, and they both graduate with a doctor of chiropractic. But one chiropractor is a hardcore Christian, and the other chiropractor is an atheist. And that's not uncommon in the United States, right? Atheism being the fastest growing religion that exists, and Christianity being the largest religion in the United States, you'll definitely find chiropractors. They're a little bit of quacks to begin with anyhow. So, but you get one religion, one chiropractor that's religious and another one's not. And the one that's religious chooses to bring religion into their career. So you've got chiropractor A that does an adjustment of the spine and allows the spine to communicate more effectively with the brain. And in turn, he's injecting the flow of Jesus Christ into that body. Where chiropractor B says, no, I've got a lot of medical friends, and, it's great that you can do an adjustment, but, this is not the hand of God, and we need the hand of human beings, and you need physiotherapy along with that and some drugs. Well, the truth of the matter is most chiropractors lie somewhere in between these two. I gave you two different extremes, but the point is we're identifying two extremes of two people that have the same ability. And how are these two people going to market themselves? What type of audience are they going to attract? And if they can't define their audience, then they can't create content that's relevant to that audience, which is the basics of marketing. So the very first things that we learn in marketing is called segmenting your audience. Now, I told you I've been in this business for 12 years. And it was probably 3-4 years ago. I was at some convention. I think it was Las Vegas. I vaguely remember it. And yeah, because when I go to Las Vegas, I drink a lot. I don't remember a lot. But, they started to talk about this thing at this internet marketing conference about creating your avatar. And I went, holy shit, okay, what's this? Let me go and check to see what they have to say. And I'm 5 minutes into this, and they're saying create your avatar. by profiling your audience member. I said, what the fuck are they? They're talking about basic customer segmentation. Smack my head on the wall. Really? This is that important that I've spent thousands of dollars to come to a marketing convention, and you're telling me that this is the new way of marketing your business on the internet by creating a customer avatar? Fuck off, guys. Just go and get a marketing book and open it up. This is what people have been talking about for eons in marketing and segmenting your audience. And what segmenting your audience really is knowing different details. Going back to these two chiropractors, all right, where do they live? Where's the physical office? What are the demographics of that? Are there different ethnicities that exist? Are there different income levels? Are there different education levels? If you were to go out and pull a Trump and go and try to get a survey of your audience, you're not just going to survey people that are walking by your area. Your best bet is to go out into a mall with a clipboard and start asking questions. Guess what, guys? Have you ever heard of keyword research and all these awesome tools that are out there that will tell you keyword research? They'll tell you the KPI of a keyword. By the way, that's called key performance indicator. They'll tell you the commercial availability, the commercial viability of that keyword. They'll tell you what it's worth, how many times it's searched, where it's searched. You know what keyword tools we use? I'm going to call it the Trump. I'm not a supporter of Trump, but I'm just starting this right now because of how badly he's got his notion of collecting data. Keyword research is best by getting what's called primary research. There's two ways to do marketing research. There's primary and secondary. And primary research is acquiring your own, which is unequivocally the best of it. All right, so one of my side projects here. I actually started the side project 22 years ago in university. And we developed a hockey bag. Well, we did all the research for that and understood that the biggest complaint that people had for hockey bags was smell. So how do we build a bag that could be marketed and positioned around smell? Well, guess what? Who complains about the smell the most of hockey equipment for kids? Is it the kids? I'm a coach of a hockey team, 11 and 12-year-olds. I have to hold my breath when I tie my son's skates up. But who complains the most? It's the moms. And so if we're creating marketing material for a hockey bag that addresses smells, it's going to be positioned in areas that are in dialogue and context for mothers. And that's going to be one of the prominent features of it. These chiropractors, now, we want to get a business listed number one on Google. The big secret, guys, is content creation and distribution. It's really that simple. Local marketing source, you know, we've got our three pillars that we work with: content, profiles, and reviews. And all three of those ultimately are positioned around basic fundamental marketing 101. So we got these two chiropractors, and we want to create content for each of them. Well, some of the best content that you can create is in the form of a press release, distributed to the local newspaper. So chiropractor A and chiropractor B. What's a good press? What's a good piece of content for a press material for chiropractor A? That's the Christian. Maybe his church is doing some sort of drive to collect donations, and he or she may want to be a drop-off location, and therefore a press release could be created and distributed to the local newspaper. Well, what does that do for the search engines? We know that the search engines are looking for trust and authority. That's why press releases in local newspapers have a tremendous amount of trust and authority, as opposed to Jay's blog down the street. All right, so I digress a little bit, but these are some of the basic things that I need to remember to share and to teach, that SEO is bullshit. There was a blog I wrote. I wonder if, I'm curious now. Let's see if that, I don't know if that comes up. Oh no, I don't have that blog anymore. All right, let me keep going here. See what happens when I lose my train of thought. I get a little bit of a brain fart, and that's it. I haven't even gotten to the weekly updates yet, and I'm 17 minutes in. But I just wanted to re-emphasize, because the three things that I'm going to talk about this week are an update in the Google of My Business guidelines, and Google is going to disallow certain types of offices, so I want to be able to share why. Number two, I wanted to discuss the importance of a blog, and your organic ranking is going to suffer if you don't have a blog. And then finally, this is a big deal, because what's happening in Europe right now, and if you've been following anything, you see, I try to study these companies. You know, like, I know what patents Apple has filed. And, you know, here's an interesting one. I posted something last week about Tesla. And I'm predicting that in the next 30 to 60 days that Tesla is going to be launching a product that literally is going to change our world, change the planet, change everything for almost everybody that's out there. And I think that that product is going to be some tiny, super high capacity battery. I mean, batteries have been the biggest hindrance out there. And the reason why I say this, let's look at history, that it was September of 2007, and Apple Computers Incorporated changed their name, and they changed it to Apple Incorporated. They dropped the term computers. Within a month after that change, they launched the iPhone. You got to remember that Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy. Steve Jobs took that company back over again after he was fired. 10 years later, he took it over and launched and relaunched the iMac, brought the company out of financial despair. But that company didn't really get very far until that iPhone came out. They weren't the first ones to come out with a touch smartphone. They just made it good, and they marketed it well. And that put the company into the stratosphere as the second fastest growing company in history, and to this day, the largest net worth of any tech firm that's out there. In fact, they've achieved the number one net worth of businesses. That was last year. I don't know where they are today, but they're, you know, 1, 2, or 3. It was the iPhone that changed everything. It wasn't computers. And iTunes and the MP3 player. But it was that name change. And going back to Tesla, they changed their name last week from Tesla Motors to straight Tesla. And Elon Musk is a lot like Jobs. He's not the first person to come out with these products, but he just makes them better. When we start to look at the solar panels of that company and whatnot, the biggest hindrance in the world that we deal with is batteries. That's why I think that, anyhow, again. So Google, the last thing is Google says no algorithmic changes to what's going on in Europe and on the internet. And the reason why I say that this is getting to be a big thing right now is, especially with the current administration of the United States of America, is the control of information. This is no conspiracy theory, folks, but it's been known for centuries, for millenniums, that if you control the information, you control the people. I mean, that's where communism is born, and that was the whole predication of communism. There's even aspects of socialism and whatnot within that. But you control the information. Think about this. What's happening with all the fake news stories that's going on Facebook? And Facebook just recently announced that they've put an algorithm in place to evade it of fake news. Well, what the hell is fake news? The president of our country is saying that the biggest media corporations in this country that we've learned to trust are fake news. So is Facebook going to filter CNN? Is Google going to adapt their algorithm to not show Johnny's blog? What is that going to do to a company like Google? Here's my theory. I've studied Mark Zuckerberg. I've read a lot about him. I study Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, where they come from, their upbringings, their philosophical views, what they share, and then I formulate my opinions. I can almost tell you what businesses sometimes they're going to acquire months before it's even announced, just based off of personalities and what these people want to achieve in the world. You see, I figure a guy like Donald Trump has got two choices, either his ego or his legacy. And I think as human beings, that's what we deal with the most in life. That fights our ego versus our legacy. I said to a friend last night that when I die, I don't give a shit about anything other than the fact that people saw me as a good father. I think I am. I'm shitty at a lot of other things. But that's the only thing. That's my legacy. I don't care what I don't give or give. And so Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, they fight their shareholders because their shareholders have one objective, and it's not legacy, it's ego, which inflates their bank accounts. It's the only reason why they're shareholders, the only reason why. These are, you know, I don't even want to go down this path, but it's like that's some of the downfalls of capitalism, is that it just puts a number on businesses, and at the end of the day, the real objective is profit. Well, you see, Google only exists because of the unbiased algorithm that they have. If this company were to dramatically begin to filter their results on their free organic product of search, then they are not adhering to the fundamental principles of why that algorithm exists. And that's delivering the most relevant information to its users. The moment that other search engines start delivering more relevant information that's unbiased, that's where users go. So Google is highly motivated to not be influenced by politics. And the government in Europe came down on Google and said that they have to start forcing them to start filtering results. And Google, I mean, what was it, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, that Google gave the big fuck you to China, when China said, either you're in and you filter your results or you get out. And they pulled out. They forwarded their .cn domain to .hk for Hong Kong, which was not a communist state. But Facebook, on the other hand, is going the other direction. If you listened to these podcasts 4 years ago, you would have heard me calling this. Mark Zuckerberg's an asshole. Larry Page and Sergey Brin of Google are true philanthropists. They truly want to make the world a better place. But I can imagine on a daily basis they're fighting their board of directors. The moment that those two individuals are no longer with that organization, it's a different company. But they were very, very smart that they retained control, and they cannot get fired like Steve Jobs did at Apple. They learned from that situation that happened there. Zuckerberg, on the other hand, yeah. So Now, Google has updated Google My Business guidelines to disallow virtual offices as service area businesses. Well, we've been talking about this one for 4 or 5 years. This is no surprise. We've seen this drop. You know, there was a time in 2010 that I had a company, a national company called Naparex. I actually founded the company, and then I sold it in 2010, and then I did their marketing for them. And we were ranked nationally for same-day delivery or straight-up courier service. And we had set up virtual offices around the country using UPS boxes, and it worked for about a year. And then it became more and more difficult. In other words, if you're a plumber and you work out of your house and you don't want to put your home address as a business address, guess what? You're not ranking on Google. You need to have an address there, a physical location. Well, what about protection? Sorry, a business has to be transparent in this country. You can't hide. The search engines don't want businesses that hide to survive. They want businesses to be transparent. And let's think about this for a moment. What is the best form of marketing that has ever existed in history and will be the best form of marketing for the rest of my life? Think WOM, word of mouth. So a restaurant opens up in your town. They've got great food. They've got great service. Have you ever heard of the busy restaurant syndrome? Because that's where you want to go and eat. Those businesses are transparent because the local community talks about them and says, go there. They've got this, they've got that. They do this, they do that. It's no different on the internet. You've got to be transparent. All right, moving on here. I wanted to talk about blogs for a small business. And, you know, do you need one? Well, no, you don't. A lot of marketers are going to, well, you absolutely need a blog about, you know, this and that. Well, forget about the internet. Forget about SEO. Forget about content distribution. Let's look at what a blog is. It's a web log. It's a means of ongoing communication to an audience. So what changes in the plumbing industry? Not a lot. Pretty tough for a plumber to have a blog. But a chiropractor that does research and learns about the benefits of flax seeds and omega-3s, and in other words, education. If a business is required to and gets value by feeding information to its audience, then you're going to get value from a blog. And if you don't have a blog and your competitions do, your rankings are going to hurt. It's really that simple. Don't look at it from an SEO perspective. Look at it from going back to marketing and servicing your target audience. And finally, I would start to talk about this and algorithmic changes. And you see, the European nation came down on the search engines and said, you should not be showing pirated information. I'll be somebody to admit that I am watching Seinfeld right now that was pirated, and it was a simple search, and I can go to Google and type in Seinfeld and Pirate Bay. Boom. I now have a link within seconds to download the entire series on Google. Or I can type in Seinfeld and torrent. And I'll show my screen right now. So, you know, for example, here I could go to this site, go to any of these sites and download a torrent. And boom. And there, now I can download it right there. 33 gigs for the entire series. And hit a button. And now it's downloading. Okay. I create content and I distribute content. And I've had my stuff ripped off. My stuff is actually ripped off on the internet today and being sold by others for less money than what I sell it for. It sucks. I don't promote this. And I pay for my cable subscription and I pay for my movies. Whoops. I'm showing my screen, huh? And what the European nation has said was, Google, you should not be showing this stuff. And Google was, well, blah, 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 blah. And there's a big fight, and this has been going on for a couple of years now. And they've come to an agreement. Why did I just zoom in on this? I can't even zoom out here. They just came to an agreement with the United Kingdom that Google is reducing their pirated content from the search results, but they are not updating their algorithm. And in other words, this company pushed that government around and manipulated that government to say, look it, this is our algorithm. We're not changing it. And if they did change it, if they did fall to the United Nations, United Kingdom, then Google as a company could potentially fall worldwide. They can't back down on this algorithm. The fact that others put that content out there is not their responsibility. But it's their responsibility to give their users the best information possible. And if they're giving their users information to break the law, is that really a morally responsible organization? So you can imagine the challenges being faced inside Google to get through all of this. So, well, that comes to the conclusion of this week's update. I'm going to answer any questions that you might have. You can raise your hand and I can unmute you, or Tisha, sorry you're late, replay soon. Yeah, I'll get you a link for that. And Liz just stepped up and said it was 5 years ago with the battle between China and Google. I appreciate that. And all these things go on, and 5 years, holy crap, I'm getting old. But I don't have any, oh, what is that? Is that a hand up? Liz, you got a hand up. I can unmute you right now. I'm going to. Oh, you got your hand down. All right, I won't unmute you. Okay, you got it back up. Liz, you're live. Hear you. You have a question?
Okay, my question is, well, besides the fact that I'm just kind of curious if you can hear me good, but my question is, exactly what are you promoting? I'm kind of new to this. This is my first time being on here. So, yeah.
What am I promoting?
Yes.
Well, This call and these questions are provided to local marketing source members. And those members pay a monthly fee, as you're aware, to be a part of the program. Part of this call is turned into a podcast, which is put out live. And there's really no direct promotion within the call other than trying to build credibility and build an audience. And just like a small business promoting themselves on the internet, anybody that's selling information, and that's what I sell, wants to establish that trust and credibility. So I've got my followers on this podcast, and either they like me or they don't. And if they don't, well, that's their problem. There's a lot of other podcasts available out there. Albeit Local Marketing Source was the very first local marketing education that was out there in 2009. There's a lot of other people in my competitive world that teach, and a lot of them are a lot bigger than me. Just because you're the first doesn't make you the biggest.
Okay,
but we feel like
I want to just correct you on something, and I do not want to seem mean, rude, crude, or degrading, but when it comes to the iPhones and, the Galaxy using Android, it originally started with Motorola. Mm-hmm. Motorola is the genius behind the smartphones. When the Motorola Droid first came out back in, I want to say 2009, they're the ones that started the Android. And did quite well with it, to the point where they actually sold Android operating systems.
Yeah, and who owned Motorola at that time?
Yes, and
Google.
Now that they have...
Google did.
Now that Google has expanded, Google has now has their own phone.
Yeah.
The thing is the only two operating systems out there is either Android or Apple, which I can't stand Apple.
And Windows.
But to each their own. But the thing is say you want to make another operating system, kind of like what Linux and Ubuntu did to compete with Microsoft and Apple. How do you go? My question is, do you know or how to go about getting the word of mouth out there?
Word of mouth for what?
Suppose you want to make an operating system that runs off of not just your computer but on your phone, and it'll work the same way, kind of like what Microsoft and Apple did. How do you get something out like that out there?
All right. There's a friend of mine called Jeff Walker, and Jeff Walker has been responsible for doing product launches well into the $500 million range among all of his students. And Jeff Walker is the founder of a program called the Product Launch Formula. And if you start to study what the Product Launch Formula is, it's the launch formula that Apple uses. And the fact of the matter is Apple bought into his program. He's met with Jobs back in the day. And so most of us understand how Apple does its product launches. And what's awesome about Apple's product launches is that they create hype, they create want, and they actually have people lining up at midnight and overnight to go and buy a phone. Nokia didn't pull that off. Motorola doesn't pull that off. Microsoft doesn't do it. But Apple's launch sequence is very good. And so it may seem really simplified on the surface of how they launch a product. But the fact is there's so many moving parts and so many calculations that they've done that the day that that product comes out, all the work and everything's done. And I would encourage you to learn the product launch formula. Go find Jeff Walker on the internet and get on his email list. And he teaches a lot of simple little, a lot of the free stuff that he puts out is a lot of great content in regards to understanding. We utilize the product launch formula at Local Marketing Source, and I try to encourage small businesses. I've got a friend that started a board game, and he utilized the product launch formula for that. I'd mentioned I'm trying to build a hockey bag, like literally physically, and once I do have the prototype completed, if I ever do get the prototype completed, we're going to launch it through Kickstarter utilizing the product launch formula. So how do you, your question was, how do you get the word out? That's your answer. Yeah. is learn how to launch a product and understand the components that are involved in it to get that word out. It's not as simple as saying, oh, go and advertise here, or go and talk about it here, or go and start a blog, or go and do this. Or no, it's a little more complex than that. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps, but I just want to I just want other people to, get that same answer. Because I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that are just, like you said before, looking like your deer in headlights. Like, they got a great product, but they don't know how to get it out there.
Well, a company like McDonald's has got a shitty product, but they're very good marketers.
Amen to that.
Apple in the 80s had a by far superior product over any Microsoft-based computer. By far superior hardware product, but they failed. They couldn't sell the Apple II if their life depended on it.
I was going to say, because back in the 80s, there was a battle between IBM and Apple. And of course, IBM stomped the shit out of Apple.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute you. Tisha's got a question here. And Tish, she asks, should local businesses push out new content weekly? The real answer to that is a local business should push out content that's most relevant for them. So when, through the Local Marketing Source program, I'm referring to a document called the Quarterly Execution Strategy that you can go into the portal. It's a document I created. It's just a template, and it uses an average. There's actually a Chicago-based taxi company in there, and it talks about content distribution. And we'd go for between 2 and 4 pieces a month. So that kind of works out to 1 a week. But we also try to get, 15 profiles every month. So what you mean by content, I don't know. Obviously, if we include review acquisition, profile acquisition, and content distribution with citations, it's going to be a lot more than 1 a week. But if you're just referring to the one pillar, the C for CPR, for content, and referring to articles, blog posts, press releases, then yeah, one a week is more than enough for most local businesses. What's the link to it? What's the link to what? The link to what? Okay. You can go ahead and just post that into the group then. But I'm going to go ahead and end this call now, guys. I want to thank you very much for being on today's call, and have a good day. Bye for now.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.